Welcome to MiniWebtool. Today, we're going to tackle a math concept that you've definitely seen before, but maybe never realized how useful it is. It solves everything from tiling a floor to packing the perfect goodie bags. Yep, we're talking about the greatest common factor, or GCF. We'll look at why doing it by hand feels like such a drag, and then I'll show you the smart, fast way to get it done in a snap. All right, so here's what's on deck. First, we'll see how the GCF is hiding in some everyday problems. Then we'll get real about why finding it can be so frustrating. We'll do a quick review of the old school methods, and then I'll show you the modern solution that makes it all a breeze. Finally, we'll wrap it all up. So let's dive in. You might be wondering, why should I even care about the greatest common factor? Well, because it's not just a problem in a textbook. It's actually the key to solving a bunch of real-life logistical puzzles. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Okay, picture this. You're at the home improvement store. You've got this room, 12 feet by 18 feet, and you want to tile it, but you hate cutting tiles. You want to find a square tile that will cover the entire floor perfectly with no waste. So what's the absolute biggest square tile you can buy to make that happen? Think about that for a second. Or how about this one? You're throwing a party. You've got 18 lollipops and 30 chocolates, and you want to make goodie bags. The rules are, every bag has to be exactly the same, and you have to use up all the candy. What is the greatest number of identical bags you can possibly make? So, we've got a flooring problem and a candy problem. They seem completely different, right? Well, they're not. They're actually the exact same puzzle, just in disguise. The solution to both is finding the greatest common factor. It's the secret weapon for any problem where you need to divide different groups into the biggest possible equal sets. Now, if the idea is that simple, why do so many of us remember it giving us a headache in school? Let's dig into the frustrating parts, because I promise if you've ever felt annoyed by this, you are not alone. First of all, the names are total mess. Is it the greatest common factor or the highest common factor? Maybe your book called it the greatest common divisor. And then when you're doing fractions, suddenly it's the greatest common denominator. Guess what? They all mean the exact same thing. It's confusing for no reason. And then there's the actual math. Sure, finding the GCF of 12 and 18 is one thing, but what if you were faced with a list like this one? You've got 5 numbers and one of them is almost 8,000. All of a sudden, finding the GCF feels like an impossible task. And this perfectly captures why we get so frustrated. Doing it by hand is just slow. It's so tedious, and it's incredibly easy to make one tiny mistake. Like, you miss just one factor and your whole answer is wrong. Plus, it's super easy to get it mixed up with its cousin, the least common multiple, or LCM. It's a recipe for disaster. But hey, it's still good to understand how it works under the hood. So let's do a quick and dirty review of the 2 main ways you are probably taught to do this in school. Trust me, it'll make you appreciate the modern way a whole lot more. Okay, before we jump in, a super quick refresher. What is a factor? It's just any number that divides into another number perfectly clean with nothing left over. For example, the factors of 12 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12, because all of them go into 12 without a remainder. Simple as that. Okay, the first method is what I call the brute force way. You literally list out every single factor for each number. Let's go back to our party bags with 18 lollipops and 30 chocolates. You list all the factors of 18. Then you list all the factors of 30. Now you just look at both lists and see what numbers they share. They both have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 6. And the biggest one of those? It's 6. That's your GCF. You can make 6 identical bags. The second method feels a bit more math class. It's prime factorization. For our tile problem, we take 12 and 18. We break 12 down into its prime building blocks. That's 2 times 2 times 3. We do the same for 18, which is 2 times 3 times 3. Now we look for the prime factors they have in common. They both share 1, 2, and 1, 3. We just multiply those shared parts together, 2 times 3, and we get 6. Boom! The biggest tile you can use is 6 by 6 feet. So which method is better? Listing factors is pretty intuitive, but it is painfully slow if you have big numbers. Prime factorization is more systematic, but you have to be comfortable finding prime numbers, which can be a whole challenge on its own. And this brings us to the whole point of this explainer. You get the concept. You understand what a GCF is and why you'd even need it. So now, how do you use that knowledge without getting stuck doing all that boring manual work where it's so easy to make a mistake? I mean, let's be real for a second. When you're staring at that scary list of numbers from before, or you're just trying to check your homework, are you really going to sit there and draw a factor tree for 7,895? No, of course not. Nobody has time for that. There has to be a smarter way. And there is. The smart way is to let a tool do all the heavy lifting. It's super simple. You go to the MiniWebtool GCF calculator and you just type that nightmare list of numbers right into the box. And once the numbers are in there, you do one more thing. You click Calculate. And that is it. Seriously, the answer pops up instantly. The greatest common factor for that entire complicated list is just 5. No listing, no factor trees, no chance of a simple mistake. Just the right answer right away. But this is the best part. A really good tool doesn't just give you a number, it shows you why that's the number. It does that whole tedious listing method for you, but in less than a second. You can actually scan down the lists and see for yourself that, yep, 5 is the biggest number they all share. This is fantastic for checking your own work or just making sure you really truly get the concept. Okay, so let's wrap this up with a quick recap of the big ideas and talk about what you can do with this information now. So here are the main things to remember. The GCF is just the biggest factor that a bunch of numbers share. It actually solves real-world problems. Finding it by hand is slow and it's way too easy to mess up. And maybe the biggest takeaway of all, focus on understanding the idea and then let a tool do the boring calculations so you get fast, accurate answers. Work smarter, not harder. So are you ready to give it a shot? The next time you need to find the GCF for anything, just search MiniWebtool Greatest Common Factor Calculator. You'll find the free tool and get your answer in seconds. We really hope this explainer helped make things clearer. For more guides just like this that break down complicated stuff and make it easy, be sure to subscribe to MiniWebtool.